Welcome to this special guerrilla-style interview during Complexity Fest 2024. My guest now is Jake. I have to even watch in my paper. Howsam Lowe.
That's it. You got it.
I am. Can you come a little closer to the mic? Yeah. This is very guerrilla style because I just saw you standing outside and like, hey, this is Jake, the guitar player for Plini. He's a great guitar player. You're up for this interview, and like 5 minutes later, we're here. So
we're here doing it.
Hey, one thing I do know is that you know Plini for a long time, right? Were high school friends or?
I went to university with Simon, the bass player of Plini, and we both met Plini through one of our friends from university while he was in high school. So he's a few years younger than us, and one of our friends was just like, I play keyboard in a band with this amazing guitarist that likes all the same stuff you guys like. And so put us in touch, and we met at a John Petrucci clinic.
That's a nice place to meet.
Yeah.
Then you know, like, hey, this kindred spirits.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to be into the same stuff.
And but you're so then you studied also at the conservatory.
Yeah, me and Simon both, and Chris, our drummer, we all went to the same university together.
Where Plini's father taught.
Taught there. So small world.
Yeah. So I saw you play live a few times with Plini, and your solos are quite killing it. Tell me about your own projects.
Yeah, so I've got a band with Simon, the bass player, called the Helix Nebula, which is kind of very intense instrumental progressive metal, I guess you'd call it. And then I just do a bunch of different solo music. So I've got an EP with a guy named I Built the Sky from Australia. He's like another kind of prog guitar guy. And then I've got a solo EP that I put out in 2019. But Plini keeps us pretty busy.
But because that's how is that to play in that band with another really great player, right? How you find your place, so to say.
I think we naturally have quite different styles in terms of the things, because he was totally self-taught, grew up listening to nothing but like Steve Vai and the kind of Guitar Hero guys, and I went through more of like I guess I listened to a lot of the classic Zeppelin and all those kind of things, but then got into really heavy metal, technical metal, death metal stuff, and kind of moved to the prog guitar thing side by side with that. So we've got relatively different styles, I think. So it's kind of, we complement each other pretty well. So it was never, and I think we're both very relaxed about we're not sensitive. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm happy for him to be the boss. He has to do all the hard work, and I just get to play the guitar. So that's good. And it's kind of, neither of us feel like we're ever treading on each other's toes or anything.
No, but you feel that if you see it, right? But still, there's so much going on. I can imagine it's some sort of quest, right? Where's the space? That goes for every musician, right? Where's my space, and where do I give? Where do I take?
Especially in music where every instrument is doing stuff all the time. There's a lot of, Plini allows us a lot of room to improvise or try different things within the music, even though it's very specifically written. He gives us lots of space to do whatever we want, and he encourages us to basically try things and do stuff even if it doesn't work. He's just like, I want you guys to do whatever you want as you go. So it's always pretty easy to find what we want to do.
Hey, but tell me about that John Petrucci clinic.
It was I think it must have been 2009, maybe 2008, 2009, in some small pub in Sydney. And I'd been speaking to Plini for probably 6 months at that time, online and stuff. But that was the first place we actually met in person for the first time. And I think I was there, Plini was there, Simon was there, but I think also probably Stephen Taranto, who's from my other band. He's one of the best shredders on the planet at the moment. It was a pretty packed room.
Oh, yeah, man.
For the time.
And John being there.
Yeah, John being there is, crazy enough.
So you remember anything from, because if you were at the conservatory and playing with other musicians, everybody gives you something in life, right, that you remember. Is there something specific at that clinic that you thought, this is interesting approach?
Not not specifics, but generally just like Petrucci, even at that time, and I'm sure still now, seems so dedicated to his instrument. Like there's a lot of guys that kind of, you would think just don't really try as much anymore when they've done their 30 years of touring, but he seems to still, and at the clinic you could tell he was still very interested when someone would ask a question about something he didn't know. He was like, oh, that's interesting. Like that drive to always want to keep learning and want to keep improving, because he seemed to still be practicing regularly, and he doesn't need to do that anymore. You know what I mean? He's John Petrucci. He could sail on Dream Theater's legacy if he wanted, but he still seems to be trying to do new stuff and constantly working on his craft. So
how does that go for you? I mean, if you reach a certain level, it becomes more difficult to reach a next level, so to say. How is your hunger to becoming better?
I mean, I guess I'm lucky also that I'm surrounded by good musicians all the time, because that kind of helps that. But anytime we have someone up to jam with us, whether it's Jakub Zuteski or
he'll be a guest. I'll be talking to him in a month or so.
Yeah, we have so many amazing guests come up and play with us that every time it happens, I'm like, oh, okay, I need to back to the drawing board. There's something I need to learn, because I can't do that. And but I'm really lucky to be in that situation where there's constant inspiration. But I do always find every time I pick up a guitar, I want to try and work on something and improve it, because I don't know if it's a competitive thing or just like a fear of falling behind, or you know what I mean? There's all those sorts of things going on. Yeah, but also, just the fun of playing guitar and being able to, there's nothing more satisfying than being able to do something that you weren't able to do a few years back or whatever.
Or did you instantly feel like I'm quite good at this when you started learning guitar or playing guitar?
I think I felt that it was very easy to play a lot. And I think that's one of the most important things. Like, doesn't matter if you naturally take to being good at the instrument, but if you can naturally do something a lot and enjoy it and not feel like it's a chore, that's the biggest kind of skill that I think people have when they pick instruments up, like or any art form or craft. You know, it's that the love of it. You can't. I guess it's hard to grow that if it's not there naturally. And so I very quickly, like the moment I picked it up, I dropped everything else I was doing. I was doing piano lessons and drum lessons and playing sport. And as soon as I picked up a guitar, it was like, okay, I don't have time for any of these other things, because this is all I want to do.
That's a great feeling, right? Yeah. I mean, what age were you then?
I picked up guitar when I was around 13.
Oh, yeah, that's
a good age to be doing stuff like that. But I'd been playing piano for many years before that, and it never grabbed me the way guitar did.
Why was it? Was it also because you could play songs that you liked better, maybe with the guitar?
Piano was always classical and things that an 8-year-old doesn't want to do. You know.
Yeah. How did that happen so much, right?
Yeah. I think if I'd been pushed into more contemporary music on some level with the piano, I might have stuck with it more. But as soon as I picked up a guitar and it's like, oh, there's a guitar magazine and I can learn a song from scratch because the tabs are there and I know that song already, and it was much more enjoyable.
So 13, and then there must have been a learning curve, right? That went probably quite steep.
Yeah. I mean, I would have started out with the single string Smoke on the Water or like the open cowboy chords and things like that. But I think stuff like I really, guitar magazines at first were the first thing that got me kind of going, oh, there's lots of different music that you can learn, because every month there's just a different set of songs, and you're like, who's this band? Yes. Or who's this band? Rush, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And that kind of really pushed me to look for more music. And then it was kind of around the time YouTube just started kicking off. And so suddenly there's all these old 80s guitar videos, and you're like, oh, who's Shawn Lane? Who's Paul Gilbert? You know?
Yeah.
You get all those guys come into the same kind of world. And then as I went to university, that's when it was like, oh, jazz music. There's all these jazz guitarists that seemingly no one knows who are better than any guitarist I've ever seen before. So the Rosenbergs and the Sylvan Lukes and... Yeah,
so because I talked with Plini about the Rosenberg trio, I saw on his Facebook page that he liked it years ago. And when I asked him, he was like, I don't know them, but it was you who introduced him to the Rosenberg trio. It's a Dutch gypsy jazz trio, and they're killing it, man. Yeah. So then you must have had a very broad musical taste then as well, if you were into that as well.
Yeah. I think that comes back to like the love of the instrument. It's just like I wasn't, anything that had guitar in it at the time was cool to me. You know what I mean? So it didn't have to be a certain genre. Like I was very into metal and Metallica and Pantera and all that stuff, but I also got heavily into Frank Zappa and Dream Theater and all of that kind of stuff. And that kind of really opened my mind. I guess listening to Zappa a lot opened my mind to being like, oh, there's lots of different styles of music. And you can find some good in most of them.
What do you like about Zappa's solos? Because to me, they're adventurous, right? I mean,
yeah. It's just he can play for 8 minutes and you like never repeat himself.
Yeah.
And on the surface, it seems like some of it's classic blues playing, and then he does things where it's like, I've never heard any other guitarist play whatever he's doing there. You can't even tell what he's doing half the time. Because he was just going for whatever he felt would be cool. So yeah. But I love Zappa for his guitar playing and his composition. Like it's so wide ranging, and he basically tried everything.
Yeah, right. The liberation of there's no borders, right?
Yeah.
I'll be talking to Mike Keneally in a month or so.
Awesome.
So yeah, he must have Zappa anecdote. You just mentioned Shawn Lane, by the way. I saw him once live.
That's awesome.
In a very small club in the Netherlands where I think there were 20 people there, and like, this is not interview style, not proper to take it over. So sorry
That's
for
all
that.
good. Take it over. I'm happy to hear about Shawn
But that
Lane.
was I couldn't believe my ears and eyes.
Yeah.
I stumble if I talk about it. Right.
That's the thing. To this day, there's not really anyone that has touched what he did on the instrument.
I couldn't sleep when I came home. I was like 16 or something, and my mom asked, "Hey, how was the concert?" I was like, and I went to bed. And I was like,
yeah.
What did I just see?
There's a YouTube video of a whole show of Hellborg, Lane,
yeah.
Sipe.
Yeah.
And I watch that at least once every 6 months.
Oh, yeah?
Just the whole like hour and 30 minutes, because it's just one of the greatest examples of guitar playing ever.
But Guthrie Govan said if you slow it down, it's still, every note's still very cool.
Yeah. He's just, the choices are incredible, and it happens to be at hyper speed.
But back then he was already not, he didn't look healthy.
Yeah.
Let's say, because it was quite at the end of his life, where this playing was still phenomenal. But, so you, every 6 months, and what do you take from listening to that?
I guess it just re-inspires me. There's those videos that you find when you're in your teen years or whatever that are the things that make you want to play guitar. And so I go back to a lot of them every now and then and just go, oh, this is why I like to play, because someone can do this and I can't do this yet, and I need to go back and work on more things.
And so you released in 2019 your solo album?
Yeah, I got a solo EP from 2019.
Any plans for an upcoming solo thing?
Yeah, there's plans theoretically next year. Plini's going to be working on an album, so I may have time to work on more of my own solo stuff while he's doing that. So hopefully next year I'll have some more solo stuff out.
Curious to hear it. It's a bit of a micro interview, this, and this room is booked in a minute or so.
That's all good.
So yeah, I think I have the feeling I could talk much longer with you about guitars and music and whatever. But for now,
maybe when we're back here,
yes, let's do another not guerrilla but proper episode.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks
Jake.
for having me.
And listeners, thanks for listening.
Awesome.